My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and I hope that January, this month so far, you have found moments to take care of yourself, to be with people you love, be with your pet that you love. I'm going to read you something to start this episode that Kristen, whom I've had on the podcast, who runs the mediumship circle that I'm a part of almost every week, she wrote something for the circle group on Meetup, and I got her permission to share it with you because I thought that it was so fitting. It really resonated with me, and I hope that it brings you some comfort. And before I read it, I want to say that I know there is nothing that anybody can say, that I can say, to remove the discomfort you're feeling, that you may be feeling, or the frustration or the fear. It's such an individual journey to move through those emotions, especially when there are things outside of us that we can't control. So I'm going to read what she wrote. She said, "Hi, everyone. I wanted to send you all a message during this time, which seems so divided and unyielding. It's an incredibly challenging period in our evolution, with so much pain and sadness and fear. That is real and should not be ignored or denied. But no matter what you believe intellectually, philosophically, or politically, there is only one truth. No matter what they say or do, every single human being is crying out for help and love. Even in their greatest limitations, no matter what quote-unquote side or persuasion, no one is disqualified from the singular need to love and be loved. We are that love. We are the heralds for change in the world, forgiveness in the face of horror, humility in the face of aggression, pardon in the face of injury, breath, feeling, and the divine, bringing guidance and hope, allowing us to send compassion to all, even and especially to those we feel do not deserve it. This is us. Spirit, peace, hope. You are the capital O, one. You are the one. Love, Kristen." It was sent to me tonight, the night that I'm recording this episode, sent to me and other people who are part of this meetup group for the Tuesday mediumship circles. And I read it and I thought, this is resonating so much with me. And I'm not going to get into right now the heightened emotions of anger and like who to whom to direct the anger towards right now in different parts of our lives today. But I think it's important to honor yourself in the way that you can. Be part of whatever it is that makes you feel like you're living your truest self. And if being part of your truest self is raising your voice, do it. If being your truest self means making arrangements to keep your family feeling safe and happy, do that. Both at once. Maybe one or the other. Everyone's different, and everyone has to honor their own journey. And I'm navigating these emotions myself, and I actually think that today's episode topic is semi-fitting because in times of desperation, or when a person may be in a moment of desperation in their life, a phase of desperation, sometimes the easiest thing is to turn to things that seem to provide a lot of hope, but those things don't have the intention of really giving hope. I'm going to share with you an experience I had. Before I actually share it, I'm going to share a mini experience. There's two experiences I have, and one of them is a quicker story. I'm going to talk about that first. But I want to introduce this topic of pyramid schemes, or the best term I can think of is born again spiritual events or seminars. I have been on some seminars that were spiritual that were amazing. One example, and this actually happened in the same summer as the bigger story I'm going to tell. Sloan Tate, whom I've also had on the podcast and who was a medium, she hosted a mediumship practice group in the summer of 2020, I believe, and I was part of it. And it was my first introduction to all of this before I realized, I didn't think I was a medium. I just thought, let me practice and see what happens. And then I didn't really take it seriously for the year after that until my experience that I talk about in episode 1 of the podcast. And that was a really wonderful weekend seminar. I think it was on a Saturday for maybe 4 or 5 hours. And it was great. It was awesome. And like I said, I'll get to the bigger story after I tell this quick story. And I think this introduces the topic well. I had met somebody through a spiritual practice group, and I didn't know them too well, but I would see them often in the group. And they were able, because we had a chat, a texting group for this group, they had access to my number. And they texted me one day. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cough. Have my matcha tea right here to drink so that I don't cough as much during this episode. Please bear with me. It is flu and cold season after all. So she texted me this voice note, and to paraphrase it, she said something like, "Hey Juan, like I really appreciate what you bring to the group, but I think you're great. And I actually wanted to invite you to this other group I'm a part of where it's a lot of spiritual practitioners like you and me, and we all invest. I forgot how she put it. It's like talking about money as energy. Like we make an energy investment of money. It was something like that. I can't remember. To this money pot, and we can all draw from the money pot, and it was a little confusing, but it was like you put money in and the money gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I guess after a certain amount of time, you can draw from the money pot and take your dividend, or take your, dividend is not the right word, but you take your portion based on how many people are in the group. And so as she's saying this to me in this voice note, I'm thinking, I'm not going to lie, a part of me was like, ooh, but then the 80 other percent of me was like, this is a pyramid scheme. The reason she's asking me to join is so that the money pot gets bigger. And so I was pretty turned off by it. And I thought, this is kind of sad. Like mixing, first of all, I believe everything is spiritual. I believe money is an exchange. It is a spiritual exchange. But like with anything, you can have a bad intention or a lower energy intention with something like money, with something like doing a good deed for somebody. You can do a good deed for somebody just so you can get praised for it by the people in the room. You can do something, you can do anything or use any tool for lower energy intention or with lower energy intention. And I felt like this just felt very low energy to me. And I told her, no, thank you so much. But, I'm not really interested, but I appreciate it. And she said something like, if your mind changes, let me know. I forget what she said, but I deleted the conversation since then because it was just kind of, I felt uncomfortable with it. And I'm talking about things like that. Maybe pyramid schemes is a very blanket or harsh term to use. Maybe it's a big term to use, pyramid scheme. But it really ruffles my feathers when people take something as important as people's spiritual journeys and monetizes them. And so now I come to my bigger story. in the summer of 2020, I think it was actually in September of 2020 or October of 2020, I had a dear friend who was also involved in some spiritual work of his own. And he knew that I was interested in all that stuff as well. And he told me like, hey, I'm part of this. I'm not going to name the group. I don't even remember what they're called, but I won't name them anyways if I were to remember. I'm part of this. I've been to this seminar before in person, I think, or online, and they're giving me like a free spot. Do you want it? And it's for next weekend. I thought, oh, like it's the pandemic. I was in a job that was, the people in the job were like really something. There was something else. I think I've talked about this job I had for 3 months in 2020 before on the podcast. Very unhealthy environment. I had just started and I was already feeling probably a little on edge from it. And I thought, well, I love spirituality. There's a lot going on in the world. And it feels like there's a lot of low emotions right now because of, and rightfully so, because of what was going on in 2020 with COVID-19. I could really use this moment to think about my spiritual journey and maybe focus on something that can bring me joy. And so I signed up for it. It was free, which was amazing because it otherwise would have been, I think, at least $800 or $900, maybe even over $1,000 for a full Saturday and a full Sunday of Zoom programming, which was a lot. I wish I would have taken a day off, like Monday off, because it was a lot. But I did it and it was free. That's why I did it. And I was interested. I wanted to help myself evolve spiritually. And the whole premise of this seminar, as with so many seminars, is to take control back of your life and find the inner wisdom within to create a better life for yourself and to pursue your passions and your hobbies. Pretty much TLDR, as they say, too long didn't read. Long story short, live a happier life. And the seminar was fun for the most part until the very end. I remember really enjoying the people that I met, enjoying what was being talked about, feeling a little tired because the days would begin like at 9 a.m. and then end at 5 p.m. on a weekend. Like I was already working during the weekdays, but I thought this is free. I'll do it. I'm going to keep doing it. And I should also mention this was considered, I think, level one. Level one. Okay? The last 2 hours of the entire weekend of programming was sharing your experience, how you feel like it changed you. People, we would be in breakout groups too, and I was with the same group the whole weekend, but there would also be the larger Zoom group of like over 150 people. I don't know how many it was. And back in the big group, people were asked to share, like, what did you get out of this experience? And I think I probably said something because I love to talk. I probably said something, okay? And I probably said something about, like, how much I got out of the experience, and it was wonderful to meet the people I met. And then they started asking people if they would commit to level 2. Maybe it was called something else, level B. I don't know. And I'm like, well, I can't afford this stuff. I'm not going to say anything. But they went person to person. They went person to person. And when they got to me, I said, I'm not sure. In front of everybody, all these, like 100 people. I can't say right now because I need to, I'm on a budget. And the leader, or the lead presenter, there was a group of lead presenters, but this was the lead presenter, said, you're thinking, you're having very limited thinking. Money shouldn't be getting in your way. Tell yourself you have the money that you can invest in your happiness. And they had this thing, I forgot what it was, but everyone's on mute. But in order to encourage someone to say, yes, I'll do it, I'll go to level 2, they asked everyone to clap on their camera to encourage people to go to level 2, using peer pressure to pressure somebody into saying, yes, I'll do it. And I did say it. I said, yes, I'll do it. I did, because I wanted just like it to stop. It was very weird. And I remember the lead of the group of the event lead was a very charismatic person. But now that I think about it, thinking back, I thought that was so cruel. They could be a very nice person. I don't know. I don't really know them today. I didn't know them very well then. I just knew what they were presenting to everybody else. They seemed nice. They seemed wise. But I thought that pulling that trick of like, everybody clap your hands to get, let's get them to the next level. Let's encourage them. Let's give some encouragement. Clap your hands. It was just, and they would they would ask again if you said no. They would ask again. They would like keep, I want to say encouraging, but really pressuring you. I was so turned off. It ruined the whole weekend for me. Everything that had happened before then, it ruined it. And we were put back into our breakout groups for a final goodbye. And I said out loud, I didn't really like that. And the leader of the breakout group, which is a different leader, like I said, there were several event leads and the head event lead who was just speaking about, telling people to clap, telling us to clap for people, I told the leader of my breakout group, I said, I really that made me feel so uncomfortable. And there were two leads in my breakout group. One of them said, I understand I don't quite agree with that method, but, just know that there's a lot that you can get out of this. And they were very kind. They were so kind. So kind that I actually kept in touch with one of them afterwards for a little bit. But then I got nervous because I thought the more I keep in touch with these people, my camera just did a weird thing. I don't know if y'all saw that, but my video camera just did a very weird thing. But we're back. Back to what I was saying. I was nervous to stay in touch with these two women who were leading my breakout group because I thought eventually they're going to pull me back. And that never did happen. I think it was all in my head. But I just didn't want to I didn't want to have anything to do with this group again. I'm still in touch with one person from that group. Very decent, very nice person who was participating just like I was, who seemed to get a lot out of it too. But after going through that, I told myself I will never, ever do anything like that again. And thank goodness it was free. Thank goodness. And this isn't to say that let me take back what I said, because there are many spiritual retreats I want to go on. There are spiritual groups and seminars I want to be part of one day and participate in. But the minute I hear about you can up-level your spiritual journey, you can gain more wisdom. That's how it was played off at. You can gain even more wisdom, like gatekeeping wisdom. Once I hear that, I know not to go back to something ever again. Because if you're going to say there's a next level, let it be like that there's a skill set you're learning. When it comes to spiritual wisdom, it doesn't quite sit right with me to gatekeep spiritual wisdom behind a paywall. If you want to teach a different level of energy healing skills, that's a different story. But spiritual wisdom that could help somebody find happiness within themselves, it's like, oh, you're happy with yourself at level 1, you'll be even happier with yourself in level 2. That does not sit right with me. Because at the end of the day, if someone is feeling very desperate, which I was not a very content person. I've been telling you a lot, dear listener, that 2024, I became way more content with myself and my life. And I still feel that way. For the most part, I do. Before 2024, and especially before 2022, I was just not content with myself. And I probably was not, I know there are people out there who don't feel that level of contentment. Maybe they feel even less. Or maybe they're in a place where it's very dangerous to tell somebody like that you can be happy if you pay another $1,000, $1,500. And so why am I sharing this with you on a mediumship spirituality podcast? Well, it is spiritual related, right? But this also happens in mediumship world. It happens in psychic readings world. If you pay me another $200, I can tell you what your ex is doing right now. Stuff like that. And those things become popular. There's a reason I've noticed on Instagram and on some social media sites that sometimes the most popular psychics are the ones who answer the questions, what does my ex think of me? When am I getting my next boyfriend? Where does my soulmate live? What does my soulmate look like? Why are those the most popular psychics sometimes? Because those questions come from a place of feeling some desperation because we feel lonely. We want a partner. We feel lonely. What does our ex think of us? And when we come to a reading as a client, as a sitter, from a place of, I'm lonely and I want a boyfriend, it's based in fear. I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to be single. I'm afraid to continue my marriage. I'm afraid to confront my partner about them cheating on me. XYZ. When we approach things from a place of fear, there are people out there sometimes who are very well equipped to take advantage of that fear. And I want you to be very aware of that. Because look, mediums, psychics should make money if they want to off of their readings and services because they are putting their time aside in their lives to do something for somebody else. I think that's only right. But only you can be the judge of when you've had a reading with a psychic knowing, okay, was that psychic worth that much money? Like, was it worth that investment? Is the piece or is the insight I'm getting from this reading, was it worth that investment? And if you feel like it wasn't, don't go back to that psychic or medium again and don't recommend them to anybody. But I know that I've had readings of psychic mediums myself where I'm like, ooh, okay, that's a little steep. Now that I think about it, it's not too steep given these days what people charge for readings. But I thought at the time, ooh, I'm going to have to save or budget for that. And then when I had the reading, I thought that was worth it. That was worth it because I left that reading feeling better than I did when I stepped into the reading. With that in mind, there will be psychics and mediums out there. There are psychics, there are mediums out there who will take advantage of people's desperation, take advantage of people's fears and loneliness. Look, I've given into it myself. I've been there. I've done it. Should I stay in this relationship when I know I should have broken up with that guy because it just wasn't a right fit, not because he was a bad guy or did something bad. It wasn't a right fit. But I went to a psychic twice to get my answer. And we ended up breaking up anyways. Fear. Fear is a big marketing tactic, not just in corporate America or in corporate Earth, in psychic world as well. And when it comes to these seminars or these get well quick pyramid schemes, it can become kind of cultish real fast. What I love about, I'm thinking right now of Daisy at Earth Angel Crystal, whom I've mentioned before, has been my mentor, is a friend of mine. I'm going to give her a shout out again. I'm going to give her a shout out for this particular reason. What I really appreciate about Daisy and people like Daisy at Earth Angel Crystal is she's running a business and she does it well. She has a lot of services that are great, whether they be one-on-one services or events. Some that I've been a part of and helped to run. Some that I had a mediumship demonstration at Earth Angel Crystal. Great stuff. Sound bowl healings, Reiki classes. But something that I noticed that she does is when someone doesn't seem like they want what's being offered, she will have the attitude, the approach of it's not the right time for them. They need to be ready. And she's not going to try and bring them in and convince them. And yet she has to run a business. Some other people would really want to convince somebody, as not ready as they seem to be, to buy that class, to buy that service. But she knows when someone is truly not ready because they will tell her, or it will just seem very obvious to her because she reads energies very well. And that's something I really appreciate, the honesty, the integrity. And that's something I strive to do as a psychic medium too. Like when somebody tells me they just lost somebody, it happened to me actually, I think in November. It was through a friend of mine said, this person would like to get a reading from you. Can I recommend you? And I said, sure. But then I think I asked another question, a clarifying question. Have some of my tea. And my friend told me that this person lost somebody very close to them the month before, maybe even 3 weeks before this conversation happened. And I told her, I do have a rule for myself that I do not prefer to read somebody when someone's passing is so fresh and so recent. I think 3 months is a good amount of time. Not all mediums agree with that. Do I believe that I can read and bring forward a soul if a soul just passed yesterday? Yes, I believe I can. But what I think makes it challenging when doing a reading that someone is paying me for is they're so fresh with their emotions and grief and their grief that some things may not resonate at the moment, and then they may leave feeling disappointed. And I would rather someone leave my reading for them feeling disappointed 1 year after someone's passed than a day or 2 weeks. I'm not really mad. I mean, I get frustrated with myself sometimes, but I'm not really mad if someone leaves a reading not feeling like they got what they wanted, because what I'm doing is I'm trying my best. And sometimes things resonate a month later too. That happens a lot. So I try not to focus too much on that as much as I can. But I don't know if I could really be comfortable with myself if someone left a reading feeling disappointed and the soul that came through passed 2 days prior. Because maybe it's all in my head, but it's just how I feel. I feel like if I were to know the information that someone they know just passed, and I go in and do a reading for them and it disappoints them, I feel like I just took advantage of their money. Because I should know better that when someone is deep in grief, a lot of things just don't make sense. And this is not to be offensive. When I've been in grief, when I've been angry at God, angry at the world, angry at spirit, I will avoid certain topics. I will deny certain truths. I don't want to listen. I just want what I want. And that's human. I'm not judging that. It's important to honor that phase. We got to go through that. And I don't think a mediumship reading is always the right decision when we are in this phase of grief where we're in this bottomless pit. That's what it feels like sometimes. And it's hard to listen to something, or our expectations are so high because we are so sad. And I'm not going to be that medium that takes advantage of that. And it's not, I will also say that maybe I'm in in a phase of my development as a medium where I'm not ready to have those kinds of readings of people. Maybe deeper into my journey, as time passes, maybe I will be able to do those kinds of readings. But right now I can't. So I'm saying two different things. Well, two things, not different, but two things here. On the one hand, maybe I'm just not in the part of my journey to do that kind of reading. And number two, I know that there are mediums who may be taking advantage of people, fully knowing the circumstances of a recent passing. And I think I've had an episode before talking about how do you catch when a medium is doing that, or psychic. And sometimes you can't always tell. Sometimes it's trial and error. You book a reading with someone and you just get the ick factor, and it's like, I'll never book them again. But I think also as a client, it's good to know yourself. And this goes for psychic readings. It goes for these seminars. It goes for these events where like it's get well quick. Know yourself. Ask yourself, with what emotions, of what intention am I booking the seminar? What do I want out of it? And even if it doesn't turn out to be the way you wanted it to turn out, like it did with the seminar that I was a part of, I went in with the intention of, I want to be a happier person. And I don't think that's a bad intention at all. Sometimes, shit happens and you just get disappointed. And that's what happened to me. But look what I learned out of it. Now I get to tell you, because of that experience, I get to tell you, just be aware of the intention you go into these things with. Be aware of, what's the language on their website like? Does it have language that makes you, the reader, the possible client of theirs, makes you feel like you are nothing without this wisdom? You are nothing unless you do this kind of service. Or language like, are you sad? Do you feel like the world is ending for you? Do you feel like everyone is cool and you're not, markety speak? Just be aware. You're smart. Listener, I know you're smart. I just know it because I'm psychic. I'm just trying to butter you up. You're smart. You're aware. Be aware. So that's my episode with my experience on this schemy experience I had. And I I think it's very easy for someone's ego to lead something that would otherwise be a very good cause or a really helpful service. And I think as spiritual practitioners of any kind or wellness practitioners of any kind, whether we are psychics, we do wellness seminars, we do seminars on self-empowerment, we can't let our ego get to us. It's about the happiness, the fulfillment of the audience, of the people buying the service. People got to make money. That's important too. Get your money. But also have a balanced approach to how you make that money. Receive the money, do the thing, but remember that these are people's lives on the line, people's well-being. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you for listening. I am in this mode of not really knowing what I'm going to publish as an episode the next week to week. As I told you, I've been trying to do a little bit less busy work with the podcast and my business overall. It doesn't mean I'm just lazing around. I eventually want to go back to readings, like I said, which by the way, did I just say bitch? Sorry. Which that was a tongue slip. Which, by the way, the break I've had from doing readings one-on-one has been really helpful for me. As I said in my last podcast episode, it's been great. And I've been practicing my mediumship in circle. So it's not stopping. But I am excited to get back to doing readings. But I know deep in my soul I need another month to take a break. So I'm expecting to open myself up for readings in the month of March. So just be on the lookout. You'll see an announcement on social media, my newsletter. But with my business, I am trying to not try hard, like to the point that I'm resenting scheduling the podcast or resenting doing that Instagram post. I'm just doing things intuitively. I'm trying to. And it's working. It's feeling good so far. But I think next week will be an interview. I want to do like solo episode interview. And I think this year in 2025, there will be more solo episodes. But as I meet people whom I find very interesting, I'll invite them to be on the podcast. But for now, I'm expecting more solo episodes this year. And I never know what I'm going to get, because I have this list of ideas and I'm just going to go down the list and be like, that feels right this week. Let's do that. So thank you for hopping along on this journey. Hopping? I guess we're hopping. Yeah. Thanks for hopping along on this journey with me, following my intuition, following your intuition. And if you have any questions you want me to answer on the podcast, because I love answering listener questions, email me at juan@juanfranciscospirit.com. Juan@juanfranciscospirit.com. And my website's in that email address. You can go to my website as well and use the contact form. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.